A lot of people ask me, why do you look at an order flow chart? Right? What do you gain out of looking at an order flow chart? And there are actually three big reasons why we look at an order flow chart. And this Scott is not the only aspect of our order flow. There are about three major reasons why we look at the order flow chart. And the most important reason is to find out how the big money is positioned in the market. So when I'm looking at an order flow chart, I am not interested in what the trader who is trading 2 lots at a time or 4 lots at a time is doing. There could be about thousands of these kind of traders, and when they come together, yes, a move would happen, but by themselves, they cannot move a market, right? But when a LLT or a large lot trader comes along, and he's putting about 2,000 lots at work at one time, do you agree with me that a 2,000 lot trader is to be viewed a bit differently from a 2 lot trader? The person who is putting 2,000 lots at work in the market at one time is got a plan, he's got strategy, and he's got capital to back him up, right? And because of that strategy, because of that plan, he takes a position and he's got a small thing, which we call an edge, EDGE. And this edge is what is the defining moment, for a move to come in the market. A lot of people ask me, why do you look at an order flow chart? Right? What do you gain out of looking at an order flow chart? And there are actually three big reasons why we look at an order flow chart. And this Scott is not the only aspect of our order flow. There are about three major reasons why we look at the order flow chart. And the most important reason is to find out how the big money is positioned in the market. So when I'm looking at an order flow chart, I am not interested in what the trader who is trading 2 lots at a time or 4 lots at a time is doing. There could be about thousands of these kind of traders, and when they come together, yes, a move would happen, but by themselves, they cannot move a market, right? But when a LLT or a large lot trader comes along, and he's putting about 2,000 lots at work at one time, do you agree with me that a 2,000 lot trader is to be viewed a bit differently from a 2 lot trader? The person who is putting 2,000 lots at work in the market at one time is got a plan, he's got strategy, and he's got capital to back him up, right? And because of that strategy, because of that plan, he takes a position and he's got a small thing, which we call an edge, EDGE. And this edge is what is the defining moment, for a move to come in the market.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, all. A quick sound check. Welcome back to the Monday 5 p.m. session and our market Pe Charcha of today. It is a very interesting one, and let us start with evaluating what happened last week in both Nifty as well as Bank Nifty spot, and then we'll move on to today's action in the spot as well as futures, along with having a look at some of the order flow examples of today in both futures as well as options. So this is the Nifty spot weekly profile of last week, where we formed a trend down profile on the week. So we can very easily see an initiative selling tail on the top, and market which kept moving low, kept probing lower all week. This weekly VPOC of 25415, which was also the monthly POC of September, was one objective which was taken out easily. And below that, this 25,000 weekly VPOC was the next objective, which got hit in the last day, where we left a small responsive buying tail. So whenever we are getting an imbalance on the weekly time frame, the lower POCs, VPOCs become the targets. So that we have already spoken many times. So let us just unmerge this profile of last week and see the day-to-day action auction. So we had discussed this on Monday last week when we got this AP rate selling tail, and we had mentioned how it is the opening of a week, opening of a month gives very important cues. And when you have got an initiative tail at the beginning of a session, it gives that much more weightage to that player. So when 30th of September, which was the start of the calendar week, gave an initiative by selling tail, it was very clear that the sellers were in control, and that selling tail was followed by another small initiative selling tail on the 1st of October, which was the beginning of the new month. So even though this range was not too big and it was mostly overlapping, but the AP rate selling tails of the first two sessions of last week were telling us that the PLR, the path of least resistance, is to the downside. And we had that holiday break on the second, after which we opened with a gap down. So if you consider this Thursday's profile, here again we have got an AP rate selling tail, because this gap gap is considered to be an invisible tail. So this gap down was an invisible selling tail in the Nifty. So you can say last week we had a hat trick of AP rate selling tails. This is a rare occurrence, and what it tells us is that the player is very aggressive and the trend is too strong. When you're getting back to back tails, here we've got three in a row, so it is telling us that the trend is too strong in that direction. So it definitely pays to be in sync with that uh, player and look for trades in that direction. There is no point in trying to play contra when you are getting such powerful information from the market profile charts. So what we did on Thursday, we formed a trend day down, and we saw the POC shifting to the lows. So that was telling us that there may be some profit booking after the fall we had seen from this FA point. Remember, 27th of September was that Gaussian curve which we made. I'll just quickly unmerge the previous week's profile so that we can see. So this was that island profile which we left. The field auction went on to complete the 2IB objective of 25825, and we remained below that 25825, after which we got this initiative selling tails and made a trend day down. So the imbalance which started from 27th of September was looking as if it is coming to a close, which is why on Friday what we did was, even though we opened lower, we left this AP rate buying tail. And when we left that AP rate buying tail, it did look as if the downside could be over and now it could start to form a balance. But and we did make these range extensions to the upside, but we stalled right at this DTPO's halfback of 25503. We had an extension handle also, I think, at 25487, which was not able to be taken out. and that happened in the G period on Friday, from where the supply came back strongly. Maybe the sellers who had come in earlier had booked out, and seeing this opportunity and seeing that the buyers were not able to take off this selling side reference, the supply came back strongly and we got a neutral extreme profile to the downside. So the weekly profile was a trend one down, plus on the daily we saw that the buyer had failed on Friday. That A period buying tail was negated. That means the seller had overcome the buying which had come in. So that means the seller for the had closed the week in his favor, and we were very close to the big round number in the VPOC of 25,000. So going forward for this week, we were looking at this as our immediate support. Below this, we were looking for a test of this buying tail of 24800 to 24722. This 24722 was a weekly HVN plus a VPOC on the daily time frame, which was our lower reference, and this extension handle at 24632 was the buy side level we have for this week. So this is how we were placed for this week, and let us just see what we did today. So today again we made an open auction in range. So there was we in fact opened above the neutral extreme zone. We did not give a follow up to the neutral extreme close, and we made a probe above the IBH. But what we did was we could not take off this HTPO's halfback, and we left this A period selling tail. So again, this today was the start of the week. So this selling tail coming on Monday is more important, and it tells us that the supply is now not letting go of this zone. So once we made this extension in the seaside is something which we take with a pinch of salt, but nonetheless, the PLR was down and A period singles was there. So it was still worth the play, and immediate confirmation came in form of a lower lows in D. So we went on to swipe through this weekly value. You can see this value area low of 24844 were tagged, and from there we got a good bounce. But again, this bounce could not take off the initial balance low. That is why market profile gives us such a beautiful understanding of the structure, that even though we got responsive buying, we had to get back into this initial balance and take off this selling tail for these responsive buyers to get more dominant than the initiative sellers who had come in today. So, but we stalled right at that initial balance low, and in fact, we have an extension handle at this IBL of 25018 today. So this was not able to take out. When you have an extension handle, that is a level left by that player. In today's case, it was the seller. So till the time that 25018 was not been taken out, today's initiative seller would have been looking for new lows, and that is what happened. We went on to make new lows in the H and I periods, and we made a low of 25964. So if I quickly move on to the daily chart, we can see how that weekly extension handle I showed up 24632 is the immediate support in Nifty spot. So this is the low we made today around this 25694, which is the 2-day composite value area low of these 20th and 21st August. Here we have back-to-back buying tails. So this is the time where the buyer were dominating and buyer were exerting control. So this will be our reference. 24632 is this high. This is a weekly extension handle. So that will be our reference for tomorrow. And if that is broken, then we are looking for a tag of this VPOC of 24581 and this lower VPOC of 24505. So you can see how we have another extension handle on the 16th of August. 16th was the time we started that imbalance to the upside, because first half of August we were falling, and 14th of August I think we left a swing low, and from there 16th was a neutral extreme profile from where we started to move higher. You can see this was a seaside extension which gave us the typical neutral extreme day. So we have we there is a very good chance of us testing this profile and this extension handle of 24445, I think 450 would be an important reference, along with this halfback of that day 248384. So these are the references for the downside for tomorrow, whereas on the upside in spot, what we have done is we have closed around this midpoint of the M period. So we will need to stay above this 24803 at the open, and then we have this halfback of L, which is at 24845, which will be our upper reference, then the POC of 24907. So these will be the immediate references for the buyer to take out. The halfback also is around the same place. So once we are able to negotiate these three levels, then our next uh, objective would be this 24967, the low of last week, and then this extension handle of 25019. So this is how we'll need to take this forward. And what we have been seeing on the daily profiles is these sellers have been dominating. So till the time we don't see an A period buying tail on any of the days this week, we don't have any reason to change our bias to from downside to upside. So we will keep getting bounces. Bounces will be there. It will not fall in a straight line just the way it did not rise in a straight line. But then we will need to make sure we are in sync with the main trend, which is definitely on the downside, and that started from the 27th of September. So, and today's weekly session is also started with the selling tail. So we will have to take off this 25018 and then get into this initiative selling tail for us to be on a bullish uh, based bias. So this is as far as this Nifty spot is concerned. Let us now move to the Bank Nifty weekly chart and see what we did in the last week. So the week prior to last week was a nice Gaussian curve. So as a market profiler, we are waiting for this kind of a setup, because what this tells us is that the balance is done and the auction is ready for a fresh imbalance. So whenever this is forming on any time frame, we all of us become extra alert in the room also at VMR, that we can expect a trending move ahead. And this because this was on a weekly time frame, we could have expected the range to be even bigger. A daily time frame will give you a daily ATR. A weekly time frame will give you a weekly ATR as your imbalance targets. So that is what happened. What we did last Monday was start with the initiative selling tail. So it was very clear that we are moving away from this balance and we are probing lower. And as I discussed earlier, when we are getting an imbalance on the weekly profile, the target would be the weekly VPOCs which have not been tagged. So in this case, 52221 was one of our objectives, and below that 51186 was the second objective in Bank Nifty spot. Although we were not able to tag this VPOC last week, this still remained a unfinished target. So what we did in the first 2 days, similar to Nifty, we had A period selling tails. This was 30th of September, start of the week with an initiative move, and then start of the month with another initiative sell side tail. And if you can see, this VPOC was not tagged the next day, and we formed a B-shaped profile on the 1st of October. So this A period tail would have been our reference going into the holiday of 2nd of October. Once we opened on 3rd, we opened lower. So that confirmed another initiative selling tail, and we went on to form a trend day. So after the trend day, similar to Nifty, we did get this open rejection reverse start in Bank Nifty spot. Why was this an open rejection reverse? Because we opened, made a look down below these similar lows of Thursday, got rejected, and immediately swiped through previous day's value. We went on to tag this DTPO's halfback of 5 52351, but we are not able to sustain that. That is the reason we give lot of importance to the D period more than the C, because after the initial balance, we call the D period D for direction, because it confirms that the direction of the auction is in the uh, path of what the initial balance has shaped up. So here, once we got this AP rate selling tail and the D went on to, it was actually not the D but the E which went on to make the range extension, but it was very clear that the PLR was to the downside, and this stalling right at the D period half back was telling us that the supply is very much active in this zone. We went on to make a neutral extreme profile in Bank Nifty spot also on Friday and saw the POC shifting lower. So this was suggesting some profit booking, and it was very close to this unvisited VPOC of 51186. So on the weekly, we had a double distribution trend down profile with the bias still to the downside. We were expecting this VPOC and below this buying tail from 5500 to 5369, which was previous month's low, September low, to be tagged. So what happened? What did we do today? We opened higher, but in that open, we stalled right at this halfback of H. We are not. This was one important reference which we are not able to take out. Even the day's halfback of Friday was 51852. So when we are below these references of previous session, the PLR definitely remains to the downside. And more confirmation came in form of this long AP rate selling tail with the halfback at 51635. So what we did in the initial balance was we formed a narrow range profile, but there was definitely indication that the seller was still holding. And once we made this range extension in the D, we got some reaction from this tag of the weekly VPOC, and we made this new highs in the E above the D period. But then again, we were not able to get above this, stay above this halfback, and which is why it was very clear that the sellers are very much in control. Even though there was some buying, there was some short covering which came in. Overall, the pressure from the sellers was much higher than the one which was coming from the buy side volumes. So this will be our reference for this week, 51635. And what we did after making those new lows, we broke below this monthly low of 5349, but we have left a responsive buying tail at the lows. And because of this, we did get one big swipe in the LTPO, because you can see the LTPO high was around 51480 from a lows of 5480. So we almost made a 1,000 point range in this, in fact more than a 1,000 point range in 130-minute TPO, and which will be our reference zone going forward. So this halfback of the L, which is at 5909, would be our immediate reference on the upside. On the downside, we will need to see if this IP rate tail holds. If it does not hold, then we will look for lower objectives, and this VPOC, you can see that on the weekly time frame, this would be our objective. And this VPOC it has come from that week from which started the imbalance which we discussed about from the 16th of August. So this is the weekly VPOC from the 12th to 16th profile, which will be our objective on the downside if you are not able to sustain the buying singles of today. On the upside, we will have to get about this MTPO halfback, and then this LTPO halfback 5909, and the pullback high and the POC is aligned at this 51520. So these will be our important references on the upside, and if we are getting a bounce, we will have to be very careful at these zones. The trend is definitely down, but we saw huge swipes happening in the auction today, even in futures and as well as in options. So how do we trade them? Order flow is the best indicator we can use to trade these swipes, because one thing is in accordance to the market profile, we need to know what the auction structure is, and then look to play the structure as per our uh, references. So let's have a look at the Nifty futures profile chart of today and see how we are placed. So we'll have the look at the profile chart and then we'll move on to the order flow chart, or I'll have the order flow chart on the same screen. We'll have the 15-minute order flow chart so that we can see what the open type was for today and what were the setups we could have looked to trade. So this is the opening 15 minutes bar, and I'll just zoom in the profile chart. The range has been increasing, so the profile is also getting out of the screen. So anyway, so here you can see how this 25300, the POC from the JTPO of 4th, was held at the open. We made a high of 25294, and in the opening order flow bar of 15 minutes, you can see we have zeros on the buy side. We don't get a more clearer picture than these kind of volumes in the order flow, where we can see sell side being having heavy numbers and the buy side not getting any volumes at all. So we got an RS bar at 25270 right at the open, and after which we remained below VWAP for most part of the initial balance. So it was very clear that we are getting a C side. There's a very strong chance of getting a C side extension, and we were ready for that in the room, and in fact we traded that also. So seaside is a setup which we need to be very fast and get in very fast and come out very fast. So for a seaside, we look at a new lows and we want to part book our trade because it is moved in our direction, and then we trail the rest to the cost. So the cost would be the around the VWAP, where we feel VWAP or the POC of that B period, or around the just before the C is starting, which tells us that we can expect a new low. So if we look at VWAP as our stop loss for the C side, and what we did here was we left an extension handle and zeros in the order flow right at previous day's POC. 25190 was the POC of both Nifty futures as well as Nifty spot of Friday. So when the order flow is showing us zeros at that level, it gives us all the more confirmation that the uh, seller is in complete control. So initially when we hit that, we got zeros on the sell side, but once we broke, we could not get back above that 25190 level, and we remained below it. So this is how we uh, kept on probing lower. 25,000 in futures also was one VPOC. You can see this 25,064, which was an unvisited VPOC, which was our first objective. And below that, this swing low of 24951 was our second objective. Sorry, this swing low from the 9th of September, I think that was. I'll just unmerge that profile. Yeah. So this was our next objective. And below this, we would have gone on to test this 2-day balance, which we saw even in spot 20th and 21st August. And we would have gone on to get into this value. So you can see the lows of today, I think, are right at this value area high. So this value is holding. If we get into this value, we would have done the 80% rule and tag this 24832 level. So in the order flow of 15 minutes, you can see how we got the RB here at that important reference of this swing low, and then we made a bounce, but the bounce stalled right at that extension handle of 25190. So when VWAP is not giving you the gate pass and the extension handle is holding, that means the seller of that level is still in control. And after this, once we are below VWAP all the time, it definitely pays only to look at going long in puts or going short in the call options, and which is what we did. And you can see how the lows we made was 24886 right at this value area high of 20th and 20th to. So this is where we started this initial imbalance with an A period buying tail, and this is where we have stalled today. So if we break this, we have this value area low as the first objective, and then we have this uh, lows of D and this extension handle from 16th of August. POC of that day is a 24716. In spot, we have already hit this level. This was also a VPOC in spot, but not from 16th of August, but from a later date. So we'll get into this neutral extreme profile, and this would be our reference zone for this weekly settlement. So you can see how we again later after making those these lows, we're not able to break them, and we formed a balance in the second half of the day. So this say after the D and G, in fact, we formed a balance and we remained in the lower distribution, with the POC also shifting lower to 25,000. So in future, this will be our reference for tomorrow, and we'll need to see how the volume shape up at this 25,000 level. Whereas on the upside, immediate reference would be today's VWAP. And if we are able to get some greens or IB signals in order flow at this level, we can look to probe higher to test this extension handle in the VPOC of 25190. On the downside, this 24936 will be our support. And as we already saw, that 24884 is that value area high. If we get into that, we have a easy 50 points move lower, and then that VPOC of 24722 can come into play as far as Nifty futures goes. So I'll quickly move on to one option chart, and we'll have a look at the order flow of that option. This is the 25,000 put, and let's see what are the signals we got in this today. So what we generally look for in the order flow chart is our IB signals when we are looking to go long. And if you are getting an RB plus IB at VWAP, it is the very good point to get into a trade with very good risk, because it is very clear what the stop loss would be. So here at the open, and there's one more thing I would want to add. On days like today where there was so much of volatility and we were swiping, so how do you try to make sense of those swipes, and at what point can you use the order flow, how you can use the order flow for order flow to get a re-entry into the trend? So when it is very clear that the trend is on the downside, so apart from looking at the IB signals in the future, in the long puts with the IS signals in the futures, what we do is we look for a follow up after the IB or the IS signal. So in case we are getting an IS signal, we would want the low of that IS to be broken in the next bar. So that is giving us the confirmation that the seller is extending the move. At times what happens, we get an IS but the lows of that IS are not broken, and we get an IB but the highs of the IB are not broken. So that is like we also have the 10 bar rule where we are looking at multiple IB or IS signals inside 10 bars. So if we get another IB signal, we have got an IB signal in one bar, and inside 10 bars we get another IB signal, we are aware, we know that the auction is stronger and we can expect a bigger range expansion. So this IB signals also, when we are getting in puts, it is very important for us to see if the highs of that particular IB is being taken out. And once that is taken out, we have a very low risk setup where we go long in the put with the stop loss as the low of the IB bar. So it's very clear. For example, here we have got an IS. So here I'm just giving this as an example. Below the low of this IS, we would have gone short with the high of this IS as the stop loss. But here we are getting this in the put, and this is coming at VWAP. So we will in fact look for an IB signal to come to go long with the low of the IB as the stop loss to get into a put long position. So in this, you can see how the VWAP and the POC are aligned and the auction is taking support there. We are not able to sustain below the VWAP and the POC. We're getting RB bars at that level. So when we are looking at that kind of a setup in the order flow, we know that you have to only look at going long in this puts. So here, when even if you would have gone long at the negation of this is, when we got about this 140 level, our stop loss would have been this 118. So you can see how the lows of that is bar was not hit, after which we got this ib, which gave us further confirmation that we can expect more upside. And once, even if we go high, as I told, above the high of this IB, which is at 168, you go long at 169 and your stop loss would be 153. So you can see we have not gone below this lows and we have gone on to tag higher. So what we do immediately, once we get this signal, we book half of our positions at 1:1 or whatever objective we can look at, and then trail rest to the cost. So that is now a risk-free position for us with the big trend, main trend in the market. So that is what we will need to do. And this 1045 bar is a good IB bar. So we in with zeros on this. So you can in fact look at this 180 as our support. So which is definitely above our cost. And the start of the zeros is at 172. 172. So this would have been an ideal trailing stop loss for the rest of the day. So after which this went on to probe higher. We did get an is in this and we broke that 172 level. So you can see how the uh, the is forming is a definite signal that you cannot be, you can no longer be part of long side on this option. So but it also gives one important cue that if this is gets negated, you can look to make a re-entry into this put. So what did this is do? This is took support at the VWAP and the POC level again. So here what we could have looked at is at the break of this 223, we could have gone long in this put because the main trend was down with a stop loss of low of this bar. So what we do is we went on to negate that is, but again the low of the bar got hit and we got another is here. So but here again what we are seeing is the VWAP has not been breaking. So which is why it again pays for us to go long again above this is point. So once you're seeing RBs at VWAP, it is telling us the trend is definitely in the other direction. So here this IB also got confirmed, this is got negated and we went on to get another IB within the 10 bar rule. So this was telling us that now the trend is strong on the upside. So when you see this kind of order flow, you want to be part of this, you definitely even want to book out, because when you get these multiple RS bars over a period of 4 to 5 bars, you'll definitely want to part book and trail to cost rest of your position. So although we went on to make new highs in this, the dip took support right at this NPOC of 255. So this is, and once we got this is here, again it was very clearly telling us you need to come out of the long side in this puts. So after which here you can see again we form this is, but this 255 where we had taken support previously was held. So we got another opportunity here because it was swiping. You get above this, it is a very fast move which you'll have to execute very quickly and make it safe. So you get into this trade at 298, stop loss is 265, first target you book out and trail to cost. And your cost can also be this 316 POC because this is coming at the IB low, initiative buying. So once this is taken out, you know that this IB POC is not being supported. So there is no reason for you to hold on to this put long trade. So here you can see how this fresh is in this bar went on to break the 255 reference and we made a low of 219, and then again we got a swipe higher. So here in this IB, this low of 237 is still holding. So this will be our reference if you're looking at the 25,000 put for tomorrow, and this is the initiative buying signal low, and if this is holding you can look for more upside. We have got couple of RS NPOCs into the close. So we will need to get above these two levels at the open. And if in order flow we are seeing sellers coming in the Nifty futures, with this as our reference, you can look to take a long position in this put. Another example of the options I will want to give is the 51,000 put of Bank Nifty, because we mainly focus on the Nifty options. So let us have an example of the Bank Nifty options also. So you can see how in this 51,000 put, right from the open, we have been holding this POC and the VWAP. So we have been trading above that and not able to sustain below the VWAP. Whenever we come to VWAP, it is immediately rejected back and we are leaving RB bars. So these are signals which tell us that the there is a very good chance of the auction moving higher. So here you can see right at this 10:45. 10:45 is the time when the C side is over and the D period is coming in. So I had mentioned how we look at D for direction. So we were already into a put trade in Bank Nifty when this showed up, because of this fact that the puts was above the VWAP and the futures was below the VWAP, and we had a period selling tail in the initial balance. So you can see how this IB went on to make probe higher. Once you get this IB, this POC becomes your reference to hold on to the rest of the position. You will definitely book out part on this kind of RS which comes, and you will take this as your trailing stop loss. So once that is hit, you're out. And what we saw is we even broke below VWAP in this put, and we took support at the POC. This white bold line is the POC of the put, where we took support in that swipe. We did make a swipe in the E period in Bank Nifty futures. So this was that. So how do we make out what is a swipe and when the trend is coming back to normal, or when the auction is coming back into sync with the main trend? It is order flow signals like this, because when you took support at POC and this bar, even though this is not printed as an IB bar, the 1127 bar is a very clean IB in this put option. So at the close of the bar, if you're taking a long position, this POC before the IB bar would be your stop loss. Or as I mentioned, even if you're looking to trade above this highs of that IB bar, so 202 if you is your entry, and the low of this IB bar would be your stop loss. And you will book part of your position at the first objective, which is matching with this NPOC, and then hold on to the rest with at cost. So you can see how this put went on to give good upside. It did give the dip, and the dip stalled right at that VWAP reference again. You're getting an RBI just above VWAP, and remember our first reference here was this 202. This. So that 202 was not being taken out. That was a very good cue. And once we get IBs in this, we can take a trade above the highs of the IB. So even this 1245 bar is a IB signal. The POC is in the lower part. It's a full green bar, and the bar is closing at the highs. So above 340, you take a fresh entry. Your stop loss would be 310. 370 you will book, and you will trail rest to cost. So this is how we'll need to look at trading the markets which are getting faster and faster. And we need to be patient and wait for these kind of signals to show up. So that will save us even from these swipes which are happening, and it will also give us the sense of direction of what we need to trade. Because I'm very sure uh, people would have got lost if they would have just seen the price charts today, because randomly the call was moving and the put was dropping couple of times today. It was not a very clean trend day, although the structure was a trend day down. It was not a very clean trend day, because we got a swipe in the E, and then we got a bigger swipe of 1,000 points in the LTPO. So we'll just have a look at what happened in the L and how we could have made use of that also. So here you can see we are getting IBs, and we got another IB, we got a third IB. So this was kind of telling us that this move is kind of into a climax mode, and we went on to hit 932 from an entry of 202, which was not hit at all in all that move. And then this happened in the L period, where we got this big IS. You can see 245 is the starting of the L. We got that big IS, We even broke below VWAP and we got the second IS bar on 3-minute order flow at this. And before that, I'll give you one more example of an IS bar giving another trade. So here, this was the first dip we got in the J. J is another TPO where which we consider to be like C. So it tries to give a contra move, and then in the K, the auction comes back to the main trend. So when we were looking at the close of the J period, it gave us this RB in this put, 51,000 put, and this IS bar high was at 626. So all of us in the room were ready to take a long trade in this put above this 626 level, and our stop loss would have been the low of this IS bar 520. So when your risk is 106 points, you're also looking at a first target of that much of risk. So when we took out this 626, you can see how quickly we went on to hit those 110 points where we booked part of our position and we trailed rest to the cost. And although we could not make much, we could only hit a high of 796, and then we retraced the entire move. We went on to break the uh, entry point. So but here again, the IS signal being negated in the put gave us one good bounce and it gave us one target. So similar case here, what we saw was we had IS plus IS. So this was the IS at VWAP. So once the VWAP is being taken out again in any option, there is a very good chance of the momentum coming back on the long side. So again here, this was a good trade to go long above this 366 high, 367 high of the IS bar, and the stop loss would have been 229. So 366 minus 229, that points would get added on to your target, and at that level you would book first part of your position. So you can see again, just like how we got at that 626 reference, where we got that 110 point in a quick move, we got a similar point from 366. We went on to hit 200 points in just 6 minutes, 566, and we went on to make highs of 758 before we started to retrace. And in the retracement, you can see how we are still holding this lows of 487, and we are still well above this 366 entry level. So this is how we can make use of the options order flow. If we are getting an IB signal, it pays to go long above the highs of that IB signal and then keep our stop loss at the lows of that IB signal. And these setups are more they'll be more effective and they'll work more on the 3-minute time frame, on the shorter time frame, because 30 minutes will become a big range. In fact, on the 3-minute itself, we can see in Bank Nifty options, we have got a range of more than 100 points easily. So to manage the risk and to manage the positions, 3-minute signals are the best. And if you are in sync with the bigger picture, you can definitely make use of these order flow signals which keep coming in every time. And this will also help you to uh, be in sync and not get lost by the swipes which you see in the market. So in fact, when we were swiping lower, we were patiently waiting for any of the IS signals to get negated, because once this VWAP broke, it was looking very bleak. But then this NPOC held, and once we got above VWAP, this 251 bar was not an ideal IB because it just touched VWAP, but it was not able to close above that. So here, when we took out the POC of the IS and the highs in the 255 bar, this was a very clear go long in this put. In fact, if you go long, an aggressive stop loss can also be at the lows of this bar, because once we are looking at momentum above VWAP, we will want the VWAP to hold. So this low just below the VWAP of 287 would have been an ideal aggressive stop loss for the entry into this. So accordingly, we could have booked profits and trail rest to cost, which never came even into the close. So these are some examples which we trade off in the options, and how the order flow help us so much. So that's it for today, guys. So let me know if you have any queries. We can look to answer them before we wind up. And overall, having a look at the Bank Nifty futures profile chart, you can see how the POC shifted to the lows. So it is telling us that they could be profit booking by the sellers. What gives us more uh, bias of this fact is the responsive buying tail which we have. So this is one sign which will we need to be taken out tomorrow, and if that is taken out, then we are looking at lower levels. I'm not sure if we have the August profile in this. So 51038 was one important reference in the Bank Nifty futures which has been broken, so that can act as a change of polarity, and on the upside we will look at that level to be sustained. So let us have the questions related to today's topic. So it'll be better because FAs on monthly and weekly time frame are more for swing, and they are not something which you can take any trades. For to take trades, we need the latest information. The 3-minute order flow and the 30-minute order flow is what we look for. So that ways, it is better to be focused on these order flow signals and the charts to take trades. So any more queries, guys? If not, then let us wind up for the day. And what we'll do is we will have these references posted in the report. We have the weekly report for spot and the daily report for futures. So you will have references for tomorrow's auction as well as the weekly settlement of both Bank Nifty and Nifty going forward, end of day today. And you can make use of that to look to take some good trading opportunities in the rest of the week. The monthly FA point was for September, and from that FA point of 24753, we have gone on to make a high of 26277. So that failed auction has already given its objective, so it is no longer having any relevance. So we need to work with the latest data. 26277 was the FA we got when the September was closing. So you need to be in sync with that. You need to take a short position on that FA and be biased down. So always go with the latest data, always go with the latest references. Don't preempt or assume that because it old level is a support, it will hold. So as for now, we are in downside. We have already discussed that. So go with the today's level. We have already discussed how today's A period selling tail are the references which will have to be taken out if we expect some more upside in the week. So that is it for today, guys. Thanks for joining in. And in case you have any queries, you can ping me on X. My ID is open at Uttam Goel. And if you want to take your trading to another level, get serious about using these setups and the process as we do at the VMR, you need to definitely need have a look in at what we do in the virtual trading room, tender mentoring room, that is where we not only trade together, we also handhold new traders and people who are new to these concepts with how they need to look at it day by day. We have audio sessions every day at 10:30 where we discuss the open type and we discuss the probable outcomes. So we had that references marked out for Bank Nifty futures right in the opening hour, that we are expecting those objectives for the day. So thank you, guys. Thank you for joining in, and have a great week ahead. And till the next time we meet, see you.